Hi, good evening. So my name is David Ezekiel. I'm going to be walking you through how you are going to do simple cleaning on your data, especially if you have an Excel data that you use for attendance. For many traditional companies, they still use Excel, or they could even use some online software, but this data they are extracted in an Excel format of your company's attendance. So when different departments they come to work, and you're able to have that data. So how do you analyze this as a data analyst? I'm going to show you a sample of the data I'm going to be using to do this analysis, and you have an understanding of what this data looks like. So this is what my data looks like. I'm just going to open it, and you see what the data looks before we are going to import it into Power BI for the analysis. So this is what they call the company data. So typically, you could see this kind of data, especially for when they want to take the attendance. So this is just a rough data. You have January 2nd, you have January 9th, you have January 16th. And for HR department, this is the total number of staff that were present on January 2nd. Total number of staff that are present January 15th. So the data I'm using is not really showing day-to-day attendance. So maybe they have an event once in a week or twice a week. And this is what they used to record that. So January, you have 14 people. And January 9th, you have 15, as the case may be, and it goes on and on. Because this is really a rough data, very, very dated data, because you're going to do a lot of cleaning before you're able to really put it in a format where you can analyze on Power BI. So I'm just going to be moving this data to Power BI, and we'll do all of our data cleaning on Power BI, and we'll do some analysis and answer some questions as the case will be. So I'm going to be shutting this down. So when I close this, I'm going to import my data. Go here, company attendance. So I have just one sheet in the workbook. I'm going to transform. So as an analyst, one of the questions you start asking yourself is, really when you see something like this, one of the first questions you should know is, where do we even start from? Where do we start from? And what I usually advise is, first of all, remove all of your null values. Anywhere you see null, take out all the null values and before you start doing any form of analysis. So here, I'm going to remove blank rows. Okay, I've removed the first null values there. And I think I have some other null values here. Yeah, so because Excel, it creates additional sheets that are not so necessary, I hold my Shift key and I click here as well. And I come to remove, so you could right click here, or you could use it to remove columns. Okay, so remove columns and good. So second thing is, what role is unnecessary for me? What role is unnecessary? So for instance, this total role is very, very unnecessary for me, because when I come to Power BI, I'm able to get my total. And I don't need this. I don't need this as well. So I just come here, I can click at the top of this place and go to remove rows. I say remove bottom rows, and I use 2. Removing bottom 2 rows. So that takes care of it. And so we've come to this point, and when you look at this, first of all, you see column 1, company attendance. This doesn't really mean anything, because from Excel, this was the title of the table you had on Excel. It doesn't mean anything. And you have all these irrelevant columns. So I'm going to be promoting this first row as column. It's going to give us some edge in most of what we are going to do. So I'm going to come to transform. So you have option of using first row as headers or using headers as first row. So I'm going to be using first row as headers. So it brings my date to this point, and my date becomes the header row, the column header, and I have this. So serial number, department, present, all these as redundant data. I don't need them for anything. So here I could call it, so let me call here department ID. So department ID, I could decide to really tweak my ID here, or I could maintain this as the ID that I have. So, but if I want to tweak the ID, I could use column from example to do some tweak on my ID. Let me show you what I mean. So I want a unique ID for all of these departments. I would come here and say, add columns from example. So let me select this. I'm going to say columns from example from selection. So from my selection, I'm going to see how to do my column from example. So let's say we are doing 0. So what do I call my company? Let's say my company is Daily Company. So I want to use the code of D001. Sorry, 0001. Okay, I come here, I use D002 as the case may be, and it goes down to this. So I have D001, D002, and this becomes my new department ID. So for this, I'm going to right click on this, remove column, remove this. And I come here, I call this place my department ID, underscore ID. So I move the department ID to this place. So mind you, as a data analyst, the company that you are working for is definitely going to have, they should have a department ID for all of the departments. So this is just like an easy way if you are trying to create something from scratch to give some form of identity. And if you are being called to help an organization to just work on an attendance and just to give them some unique ID for each of these departments and these works. All right, so the next thing I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be removing this first row. This first row means nothing. Because I have my department ID here, I have my department here. So what next? So these are all dates. So I'm going to be removing this first row. Removing the first row, I'm going to come back to home, remove top rows and one. I'm removing just one row and I click. So from here, you automatically might know what the next step is going to be, which is pretty obvious because the next step is going to be us on pivoting. So in on pivoting, I'm going to be saying, I want this, I want this. And every other row should be on pivoted against these two that I have. And what it means is that I'm going to be having my attributes, I'm going to be having my value. And the date becomes the attribute, so why the numbers become the value. So I'm going to go to transform, drop down and say on pivot other columns. The moment I on pivot other columns, you see that it's unpivoted against the department ID and the department. So the date, the attribute becomes our dates and call this date. And here we have attendance. Let me call this attendance. This works. And pretty much we have our clean data. But this date, so this date is really not useful for us because we are going to be doing a lot of things. First thing, we are going to split this data. So in splitting the data, we are going to come to home, split by delimiter. And the delimiter we're going to use is going to be space. You can see our space specified here. And I'm going to be splitting this. So we have January and we have this as well. And don't forget, what we want to achieve from this is to have our date really. And here I'm going to be removing all of this 2nd, 9th, 16th, and again, I can use split so digit to non-digit. So 8 is a digit to non-digit. I'm going to be splitting. And the moment I split, I can just come here, right click on this, and I remove this. And for this as well, I'm going to remove this. We don't need it. And all right, so I can now use my column from example to get my date. Okay, so click on this, would come to here. Okay, from selection, let's get our month number. The month number is going to help us in what we want to do with our dates. Month number. And we come to here, we say 1. January is 1. And we have for February 2. And March is 3. This is also 3, yeah. April is 4. Well, for May is 5. June, we have 6. And July is 7. July is 7. And we have June. So we're still going to clean that. And I think with this, we're fine. And okay, I use my okay. All right, so I'm going to come to hold these two together. So I'm going to have this and this as well. So I hold my control key and hold this. So with these two, the combination of these two, I'm going to be having my date. So let's go to column from example from selection, and we should get our date from this. And the way we get our date is first is the day. The day is 2nd. Sorry, our month is 1st. Our day is 2nd, and it's 2022. And the next, trying to explain this to Power BI. Okay, so the first month is 1st as well. 1st of 9th, 2022. And it goes like that. You see that Power BI has understood what I'm trying to say. And the moment I'm sure it has understood, I just go to OK. So from here, we have our date. So what it means is that this and this, I really don't need it, because for the analysis we're going to be doing, we'll be creating our own dates, external date table to do our analysis. So I'm just going to remove columns. Come here and I remove columns as well. I remove. So from what we have, we've been able to clean our data. We have our department ID, we have our department, we have attendance, and also we have our date column. So let's try to confirm the data type. The data type should be text. Data type is text, correct? This should be text. This shouldn't be any. This should be a whole number. Yes. And this should be dates. So let me use the text data type. So this is date. This is whole number. And with this, we've been able to clean our data. So the next phase, we are going to be going over to Power BI. We'll create our date table. And after creating our date table, we are going to use that to do our manipulation and our analysis for this data. So see you on the next video. Thank you.